First, Kang and I will talk about the background of our project, which we believe is too important. According to the World Travel Tourism Council, Australia tourism sector is now booming in 2025. It's contributed around $315 billion to the national economy and provided around 1.7 million jobs. One of the most important features in this sector is hotels. In this competitive market, getting the pricing decision right is essential, especially for some new hotels. For new small hotels, it helps them to attract new customers, gain the ability to recover their investment quickly. For big and old hotels, it also helps them to achieve long-term profitability, remain on the marketplace.
However, hotel pricing in Australia is not that simple. Room prices vary depending on many different factors. For example, it depends on the location, it depends on customer rating, or even the number of available rooms. And currently, a well-known company in Melbourne plans to expand its occupancy into the hotel industry. It is scheduled to open very soon, so they contact us to prepare a pricing strategies. And to help them with an accurate and sufficient method, we collected and analyzed real data from many existing hotels from major Australian cities. Our goal was clear: to build a predictive model for average room price using many statistical tools to review exactly which factors have the strongest influence on pricing.
Alright, as our goal is to record a multiple linear regression model for predicting average room price based on three predictors, as per the requirements of our client, Rusab and I will now explain the methodology behind it. Due to our heavy workload, the questionnaire design and data collection were outsourced to a survey company. However, the raw data came back in 4 separate tables: price, location, hotel, and financial data. So our first task was to prepare the data for analysis. We followed 6 main steps. First, we imported the 4 tables and kept hotel ID in each so they could be merged correctly later. Then, we audited the data by checking for missing values, duplicate hotel IDs, invalid categories, and incorrect data types. Next, we cleaned the data. To do so, the data was firstly imported into Excel. Systematically, we inspected each cell, and in doing so, we found many major issues. Average room price had a dollar sign and dollars, which needed to be removed for the cell to be all numerical, and some values were abbreviated in certain columns, so for consistency we had to unabbreviate them. The occupancy rate also had some empty cells, so using the formula of rooms booked divided by rooms available, the cells were rectified. Operating cost also had the same issue as average room price, and it was quickly solved. The same issue also appears further down the line in revenue. Customer rating, which could only be between 1 and 5, had a value of 0.87. After discussions, we decided it would be best to round it up to 1 to ensure we still had 300 data points. Lastly, hotel ID was sorted from smallest to largest, as that was common practice. After that, we removed the duplicate hotel ID column from each table and we merged the data. Overall, this process ensured that the data was accurate, consistent, and ready for multiple linear regression and statistical analysis.
Thank you, Venuja. Now we move on to statistical analysis. For this statistical analysis, we started with some descriptive statistics and data representations that are dependent on the type of variables. For quantitative variables, we use a Pearson correlation matrix to identify stronger linear relationships and to check for possible multicollinearity. For categorical variables, we used frequency tables, box plots, and the Kramers V association matrix, since the Pearson correlation is not suitable for categorical data. Finally, we built multiple linear regression models using 3 predictors at a time and compared them using the adjusted R-squared, the F-test, the coefficients, p-values, and the practical relevance to hotel pricing. I am now going to present the results obtained using Excel and R. Since our dataset consists of 9 quantitative variables, including the response variable, average room price, and 3 categorical variables, we have used 2 types of descriptive analysis. Firstly, the summary information like the mean, median, skewness, minimum, and maximum, and so on, gives us an insight about the distribution of each variable. For example, we can clearly see that the response variable, being average room price, is positively skewed, ranging from $90 to $589 with a mode of 90. If we consider the predictor customer rating, it has a left skewed distribution ranging from 1 to 499. Also, on considering its median, it is 3.97, which is practically 4, which tells us that 50% of our data are clustered between the ratings of 4 and 5. Now we move on to the categorical variables. Each coded categorical predictor is represented using frequency and percentages. For example, we can see that 78.3% and 84.7% of hotels in our dataset are not located in waterfront and airport regions, respectively. Now we move on to the scatter diagrams that we have built. The scatter plots helped us look at the pairwise relationship between the average room price and the quantitative predictors. We observed that the relationship between the average room price and the predictors seemed to be reasonably linear with trends that supports the use of multiple linear regression. For instance, we observed some positive trends with predictive intervals between average room price and revenue, as well as operational costs, which seem to be important predictors. Also, we noticed some dense clustering of data for customer rating in the range of 3 to 5, as previously highlighted. Here, we get a better overview of the distribution of our quantitative variables where skewness and potential outliers are observed. For instance, the operating cost distribution seems to be approximately symmetric, but has some subsequent outliers suggesting that we have to be cautious on using this variable. Interestingly, we constructed the box plots and the bar charts for average room price against each coded categorical variable with level 0 or 1. As an illustration, there is a clear-cut demarcation of the average room price between hotels found in waterfront region or not. At the same time, the bar chart highlights that we have fewer hotels in the waterfront region. Waterfront could be an important driver for average room price in our multiple linear regression model. Now we move on to correlation matrices. The Carl-Pearson correlation has been used to represent the strength of the relationship between pairs of quantitative variables, including the response variable. And the Kramers V association has been used to detect the strength of the association between the pairwise coded categorical variables. This has indeed revealed very high correlation between variables like rooms booked and rooms available, as well as perfect association between independent and chain categories. In fact, these may have serious implications such as multicollinearity if they're all used as predictors while developing our multiple linear regression models. All right, now we have used Excel's data analysis toolpack to build our MLR models. As an example here, we have developed a statistically significant model using predictors such as rooms available, customer rating, and waterfront as supported by our ANOVA table. From the beta coefficient summary, we note that customer rating and waterfront are statistically significant predictors, unlike rooms available at the 5% significance level. However, the latter could be considered statistically significant if we could afford a 10% significance level. Here, the metric adjusted R-square shows that 65.1% of variability in the average room price could be explained by these three predictors. Once we are satisfied with our model, we can use it for predictions or estimations using our fitted model. Now I pass on to Tom to continue the results section. Thank you.
Thanks, Rishabh. So let's move on to how we approach the regression models. So in this step, each of us selected three variables which we believe are important to build our regression model. For Ken, he chose two numerical variables which are customer rating and operating costs, beside with a categorical variable which is the tourist zone waterfront. One means yes, For then, he selected customer rating and occupancy rate and chain affiliation. One means yes. Richard is quite similar with K. He selected rooms available, customer rating, and zone waterfront. About Chandler, he focused on the location of hotels, which are city, one means from Melbourne, and tourist zone, one means airport, and customer cost. But I selected customer rating, operating cost, and chain affiliation, one means no. And for Venusia, he chose revenue, room book, and because he wanted to specify which zones have the most different room price, so he split the tourist zone variable into three different predictors, which are shown here. On the screen now is the result of our models. We shorten them and report only the coefficient p-values and the confidence interval, which is 95%. And except for the fifth model, the remaining models still have most predictors of statistical significance. And in the next step, we compare the adjusted software between each model to find out which one is the most trustful. And as you can see here, we chose the sixth model to be the best one because it has a higher adjusted software. In other words, strongest matrix. So let's have a further look here. There are two plots of coefficients of two numeric variables in the model. The coefficient of revenue is quite low and positive, which is about 0.005, and whether that of room book is lower, and in a negative effect, which is 1.221. About the tourist zone, by looking at the summarized bar plots here, we can conclude that hotels which are located in waterfall have the highest average room price compared with other zones in a data set, and this effect is significant. So I will move the part for Chandler and Bao to the discussion part.
Okay, let's talk about the discussion part. Our group's main interpretation is that the average room price is not determined by one single factor, and based on our strongest model, which explains around 77% of the variation in average room price, we found that the room price was influenced by a combination of locations, operating cost, customer ratings, and among other factors, the hotel demand and its location seems to be especially important. In real-world context, hotel can use this model as a useful reference to find out the most competitive variable instead of rely on their personal experience. For existing hotels, this model can help them to adjust their room price. And for the new hotels, they can use this information to help with the room price decision. However, hotels should not use this model as their only decision-making tool, because the price decisions may also depend on other factors which were not included in this existing model. And now let Tom explain the limitations furtherly.
Right, thank you, Chandler. Okay, now about the limitation and recommendations of our project. As model 6 is our best model, which has 77% of adjusted R-square, this means that it can only explain 77% of the variable using this model. And it only using three variables, includes revenue, number of rooms booked, and the location to predicting the room price. So maybe if we could have used more predicting variables in the model, the adjusted R-square could have been more accurate, which means it could have been higher. Next, the regression model is completely based on 300 hotels. The data could have been more accurate if the hotels were included in the database. It would be able to reflect a greater range of data and give more accurate predictions on the room price. And last but not least, the model is only focusing on one time point, not reflecting the changes as the time varies or in seasonal time. For the record, hotel business is heavily based on the seasons. The price could be a lot different comparing from peak season to normal seasons, as the demand increases heavily as well. The room price is also likely to increase massively. For example, beach view hotels would get more benefits in the summer, as the demand for the hotel near beaches would be increased greatly, but maybe the hotels in the CBD zone would not get the benefit. And that's it for our presentation. Thank you for your time.